Hi folks, so the OPEC plus countries, the OPEC members plus friends and allies, including Russia, have met in Austria. They have decided not to cut back production of oil anymore. They cut back production in October, they did so again back in April, and now they've decided enough is enough. They will keep things as they are. But the Saudis have said, we will cut back production by another 1 million barrels. They need the price of oil to be above 80 to break even, and they need to fund, of course, their huge international strategy. As you know, they're trying to position the country on the world stage. They're building a futuristic city in the desert. They're buying the most expensive soccer players in the world. They want to catch up with the United Arab Emirates and Qatar and other small Gulf countries. They're of course, much smaller neighbors in terms of their international projection. So they want more money coming in. Apparently, as well, the Russians have not been cutting back production in the way they promised to in previous meetings. They've been cheating. Why? Obviously because they need, in the immediate term, they need money to fund their invasion of the Ukraine. So a lot of quarreling going on among these friends, supposed friends, that make up OPEC plus. But I want you to focus on the big picture. What really matters here are the fundamentals of oil, and the fundamentals point to much higher prices in the future. I venture to say for the next decade, and that will have implications, of course, both socioeconomic and political, of a major magnitude, because it will mean that certain autocrats, certain dictators will be strengthened. It means that countries that depend on oil imports will be weakened. It means that those countries that are oil producers, but because of their incompetence, their demagoguery, their economic nationalism, have been producing less and less crude oil, will come to lament the fact that their industries are in a calamitous state and will not be able to profit from what I see is a huge rise in the price of oil. What are the fundamentals? Well, demand is going up and up and up. It's up by about 3 million barrels since the pre-COVID years. And supply is coming down. It has been for a while. What's happening is in the conventional field, in other words, non-shale, there's been a decline for years now. No major discoveries. Production has been going gradually down, and clearly that's not the future, at least not in the next few years. In the shale oil area, though, we've seen a much more mixed picture. Of course, we've had a decade of enormous production, the U.S. becoming the #1 producer in the world because of several basins, Eagle, Ford, Permian, etc. Other countries have been producing shale oil too. But that is now declining, and it's declining for the same reasons that conventional oil is declining. There's so much high quality oil you can bring out of a well. And some of these producers in those basins I just mentioned have been depleting their high quality, their so-called tier 1 wells, and are now producing oil from oil wells of a much lesser quality. The one basin that has been increasing its production in recent years is the Permian Basin in Texas, but that too is coming to an end. That too will be very soon will be depleted. Some of the major experts, people I listen to very carefully, including, for instance, Goering and Rosenbach, to cite just one major authority in this, have been predicting for a while that the Permian Basin is nearing its decline. And they estimate that by next year, that Permian Basin will begin its decline. In other words, we're seeing major trends here. Decline in terms of supply and a significant increase in terms of demand. Those trends, of course, that interplay will produce sooner rather than later, despite the short-term manipulations of these manipulators, high oil prices. That'll mean that countries that have a lot of oil, including Russia, of course, including many of the Gulf countries, including major dictatorships in other parts of the world too, will see their coffers boosted, even if they are very incompetent at producing oil and have been producing less oil than they were in the past. In Latin America, we've seen this very clearly. For instance, we've seen how Venezuela used to produce about 3 million barrels of oil, perhaps even slightly more than that, and now they're producing between 500,000 and 700,000. So it's a huge, huge drop. Mexico itself was producing a lot of oil a few years ago. It's now producing about half of what it was producing. Colombia is now producing a lot less than it was producing. Many of these countries have been producing less and less. Their production has been declining because of economic nationalism or demagoguery or populism, or all three combined. So all of this will have implications. In those cases, of course, that'll mean that countries that would be in a very strong position for this bonanza that's coming to them will not be able to profit significantly for it, even if they'll be able to profit to an extent. And it also means, of course, that some of those democracies that rely heavily on oil imports, liberal democracies, I mean, countries that have respectable institutions, at least by comparison to some of these autocracies and dictatorships, will suffer. They will have to pay a lot more money to import oil. So these are some of the things I would love to talk to you about in the next few months, and I would love to have you think about, because this will have major implications in the near future. And I think it's something that needs our attention. Thank you.